Cinda Lonsway.
Hello, Sharon, again. Hello.
Oh my gosh. Every time we get together, we just smile and giggle, don't we?
Oh, God.
What
You have such an important place in my heart. I'm so grateful.
Yeah, life has treated us really well together. I so appreciate that camaraderie that we have. But I want to suggest you sharing a difficult part in your life.
Okay.
Because I know from difficulties, it's not always difficulties that bring growth. I don't believe that we need difficulties to bring growth, but definitely in those dark moments, the opportunity is there, even though it feels so difficult and so hard. So I just want to invite you to share way back. You're in college. Maybe not so far back, but you're in college.
Yeah. So, so you're wanting me to talk about when I was attacked. So I'm 57 years old now. So I was 19. So it was quite a few years back. And my roommate and I were renting a house in Portland. And in the middle of the night, a stranger broke into the house, came into my bedroom and attacked me. And for 3 hours, 3 frightening hours, I prevented this violent man from raping and killing me. And then I was able to trick him into leaving, and then he continued to stalk my roommate and me for 2 months, and he was never caught. And actually, I don't know how much of that you want me to talk about, or do you want me to continue? I don't know. What would you like me to?
It's your story.
Yeah, it was pretty profound. I think that what I'd like to do is I wrote about it, but before I even talk about the writing, let's jump to modern day. And so modern day, in 2014, I was awoken in the middle of the night by a voice, and the voice said, Cinda. And I woke up like, who just called my name? And my dog heard it because she lifted her head and looked around, and clear as day, it said, it is time. And I just knew what that meant. And it meant it was time to share my story. And I asked this voice, I said, well, what do you need me to do? And this voice, and I am not kidding, it sounds like the beginning of every quest, it said, look for the signs. And so I started to write my story, and it ends up being divided into 3 parts. And the first part of the story is called The Attack. And it talks about the violent attack and the way that I remember it in these snapshot memories. Each snapshot memory I have is a chapter that then I had to, put together into a story that flowed and made sense. And then the 2 months also where I was stalked, and then where I finally moved out. And then the second part of the story is titled The Healing. And what happened is, because the man was never caught, and I went about life as if nothing had ever happened to me. I denied, and I never looked at it, and I just stuffed it down. When I was a mother in my early 30s, I had my first child, and the memories started to come back full force. And I think the reason why is because it was one thing for me to be 19 and just save myself, but now I'm responsible for this beautiful, innocent child, and I felt more vulnerable than I have ever felt in my life. And then when I had my second child, it progressed. Now, what I didn't know then, which I know now, which interestingly enough is the title of my book, is I was experiencing post-traumatic stress. And that post-traumatic stress probably was some postpartum depression, maybe, I don't know, but I was never diagnosed because I didn't know what was wrong with me. I just thought I was crazy. And then that lasted almost 5 years, if not more, of me losing my mind. And the way it presented itself was rage. So I lived a life of full-on rage. And I was very afraid of harming my children. And many times I fantasized about leaving because I was convinced my family would be so much better off without me. And again, I had no idea what was wrong with me. I could not connect the crazy that was happening in my head and in my body to what had happened to me when I was 19. I could not connect. And even though the memories were there and I was having nightmares again, I could not connect it. And it never occurred for me to seek professional help or guidance. So one night I surrendered. I completely surrendered. I was in so much physical pain and in so much fear. I was convinced he had found us again. And in that moment, I went to bed and I just gave myself up. I gave myself up to the devil, to the demons, to the dark side. I didn't know if it meant I would be consumed and disappear. I didn't know if it meant that my beautiful husband would wake up and see a pile of ash next to him. I didn't know if it meant that I would lose my mind entirely, but I couldn't do it one more moment. And so I went to bed and just silently sobbed and gave myself and turned myself over to the darkness. And and instead of the devil showing up like I expected, God did. But God showed up in the image of my perpetrator. And in that moment, I heard a voice that said, clear as day, and he sounded like Deepak Chopra. And clear as day, I heard this male voice say, Cinda, love your enemy, and there you will find your peace, because I was searching for peace. And in that moment, I knew exactly what I needed to do. And my perpetrator showed himself in my room. You know, I felt like I was completely awake through all of this. I could physically see him, but all of this was done supernaturally, you know. And I was guided, I don't know what other word to use, through a profound ritual of healing through divine love. And in that, and then I fell asleep and woke up the next morning to a brand new world, the dawning of a new day. I mean, I have all these cliches that I say, but all of them fit. And I was absolutely cured. So I thought, until then, fast forward to 2014, and I need to write my story. And I need to relive every single thing that I tried to forget, you know, to really do the story justice. And, you know, part 3 of the book is called The Awakening. And it's where I go back in time, and with the help of angels and guidance and my old roommate and my old detective, I find the signs that I had missed. And I write about those signs in detail. And then the things that, you know, and the process of writing the book and remembering the book and what I have learned about the power of true divine love and what that means. And then by the very end, the book ends in grace. So it's a beautiful story. Actually, I'll show it. It's called I Know Now. Here's a shameless plug. I Know Now, A Woman's Healing, Violence to Victory, Trauma to Truth. And it's just a beautifully edited book.
Oh, those editors are amazing in helping make the story
Yeah.
really more accessible to the reader. So, I mean, I just have to say, I am so honored to have heard what it was that was your experience.
Yeah. And, you know, because of this book has, you know, there's so much I want to say, so I'm going to jump around. I apologize. But, you know, really quickly, I believe in my heart of hearts that our mission here on earth is for every single one of us to remember that we are these divine beings inside of this human body. And we live out most of our life not aware of that. But we have incidences that happen to us and signs that are given to us as guidance to help guide us to get closer to this recognition, understanding, realization of the divineness that we are. And so technically, you know, I could have and should have perhaps recognized that I spent 3 hours with a violent man and I was safe when he left, right?
Yeah.
But I couldn't recognize how protected I was, or the divineness that was there in that moment. I just wasn't mature enough or educated enough to recognize of what served me then. And even, you know, but trauma is trauma, and the trauma was awful, and it, because I didn't deal with the trauma, it chased me down. It wanted me to wake up. The suffering followed me, no matter how much I denied it or how fast I ran from it, until finally I couldn't run anymore. And I had to find, I mean, what I really did, even though I didn't give it these words, is I turned around and I looked at it and I let it catch up to me, assuming that it would kill me, right? But it didn't kill me the first time. Memories aren't going to kill me a second time. And in that mind, that's all that suffering is. In the book, I write about how suffering is like a border collie. And a border collie plays a big role. It shows itself in multiple signs throughout my life. A random border collie. But a border collie will, you know, if there is a sheep that's straying from its safe place, if it's straying, a border collie will go and nip at its ankles to get it to come back into center, back into alignment, back to where it's supposed to be to get to its destination safely. And but if it veers off into unknown territory, not that unknown territory is always wrong, but the border collie knows that there is danger there. There is danger there. So it nips and nips and nips and causes pain, causes suffering to get that sheep back into the herd, to get that sheep back into alignment, back into center where it's safe and secure. And so suffering is not designed for pain. Suffering is designed to get us back, to guide us back into the center of who we really are, to go and be in the flow of our life instead of going into places that aren't healthy for us, which is suffering, and come back into center. And yeah, so this book has led to me being part of a panel with other with psychotherapists that deal with trauma. And it's called Trauma to Empowerment Panels, where we actually discuss how do we heal from trauma. And we heal first by recognizing that our suffering is a guidance that we need to stop and look at and listen to. And the best way I found to listen is to actually journal our memories and to remember. And the memories will not hurt us. It can't harm us, but it gets it out of us. It gets us out. It gets it out of us, so it's no longer storing within us.
Yeah, thank you for that sharing. The toolbox of awareness of how life works in this energetic biofield of which we move, and the guides, the mentors, the toolboxes that we have, and it is all about remembering our magnificence so that we can live our magnificence, which requires us to have ways to let the trauma catch up with us, and with whatever support system and help comes to us, and it will guide us beyond it, to the empowerment of, again, our magnificence. Thank
I
you.
love that. Well said.
Thank you so much for sharing, Cinda.
Yeah.
We have lots to share.
We have so much to share. If people are interested in reading my book, another shameless plug. It's a 4-time award-winning book, and all 5-star reviews so far on Amazon. I would love people to read it and to leave a review.
Perfect. And
So,
that would be wonderful. Okay, until we meet again,
thank you.
you got blessings. Thanks a lot for sharing.
Oh, I love you, Sharon.